The radiant ribbons of light above Lysara shimmered as Ren's battered shuttle blazed through the atmosphere, a streak of fire trailing behind. Inside, warning lights flashed and klaxons blared, the small craft shuddering under the strain. Ren gripped the controls, knuckles white, sweat slick on his brow as he fought to keep the shuttle from spinning out of control. The acrid tang of scorched electronics filled the air, smoke twisting in ghostly fingers around flickering panels. "Come on, hold together, just a little longer," he muttered, voice tight with desperation. The battered navigation display threw up a torrent of red symbols. A sudden jolt rocked the cabin. Ren's head snapped forward, vision swimming. He couldn't afford to look back. The home he'd known was gone, reduced to memory and ash. All he had left was this gamble. Lysara, the world below, rumored sanctuary for the desperate and lost. But as the hull groaned and metal shrieked, it felt like the planet itself might reject him. The shuttle hit atmosphere with a thunderous roar. Outside, the sky blazed orange and gold, the planet's auroras twisting in impossible patterns. The craft pitched and bucked, alarms shrieking in protest. Stabilizers, damn it. Ren's fingers danced over the cracked control board. Another explosion, sharper this time, threw him sideways. He slammed back into his seat as gravity seized him. The surface rushed up. Ren's last thought, before impact ripped everything away, was a silent, wordless plea. "Let me make it." Darkness swallowed him. He awoke to a world transformed. Ren's body ached, and the metallic taste of blood lingered on his tongue. Around him, the forest glowed softly, plants pulsing with gentle, rhythmic light, casting shifting patterns across his battered flight suit. The air was cool, tinged with unfamiliar scents. A hush lay over everything, broken only by the distant sigh of wind through crystalline leaves. He pushed himself up, groaning. Every movement sent pain lancing through his limbs, but he forced himself to stand. Something brushed his mind, a tide of sensation, a current of thought and emotion, silent yet insistent. It was as if the world itself was whispering, questioning, inviting. Not far away, the city of Mirren rose out of the luminous forest like a vision. Towers of living crystal, spires woven from light and energy, reached skyward. Walkways spiraled between structures, their surfaces shimmering with every step. Figures approached, silent and graceful. They moved with an effortless elegance, their skin catching the forest's glow and reflecting it in silvery hues. Their eyes were enormous, luminous gray pools, unblinking and watchful. Ren's heart pounded. He tried to steady his breathing as the group drew closer, their movements choreographed in some subtle, unspoken harmony. At their center stood a young woman, taller than he, with skin that shimmered like moonlit water. Large gray eyes met his, searching and calm. From her back arched delicate wing-like fins, translucent and alive with shifting color. Behind her ears, gill membranes fluttered with each measured breath. Her garment flowed around her like liquid light, bioluminescent patterns rippling across its surface. She stepped forward, head tilted in curiosity. "You are not of Lysara." Her voice resonated, not in sound, but in the gentle pressure of thought against his mind. Her name surfaced in his consciousness. Elenai. Ren tried to speak. My name is Ren. I crashed. I need. But the words seemed to vanish, brittle and useless, as their meaning tangled in the air. The Lycerans communicated differently. He felt Elenai's presence reach out, her emotions flowing into him, a current of curiosity, caution, and the faintest thread of welcome. Her hand settled on his arm. The contact was electric, sending a pulse of warmth and gentle inquiry through him. Ren flinched, startled at the intimacy of it, but Elenai's touch steadied him, the telepathic connection soothing and strange all at once. Came her thought, woven with reassurance and curiosity. He was led through the glowing forest, the Lissarans' procession silent, but for the whisper of their feet. As they entered Miran, the city's structures responded, doors unfurling and walls glowing brighter at their approach. The city's hum pressed against Ren's mind, a tapestry of thoughts, emotions, and memory. He was not caged. The chamber they gave him pulsed with gentle light, its walls soft and responsive to touch. But always, the telepathic current pressed in, dense and overwhelming. Ren paced, rubbing his temples, trying to block out the flood of foreign sensation. He focused on the energy patterns woven into the room, networks of living light, subtle as breath. But something was wrong. Where the currents should have flowed smoothly, there was a stutter, a hesitation, as if the city itself was wounded. Ren knelt, tracing a hand along the floor, noting the irregularities. His technical mind raced, searching for meaning. Elenai visited often, slipping into his chamber with a grace that never failed to unsettle him. Her eyes shone with intelligence and unspoken questions. She sat beside him, sometimes silent, sometimes sending gentle pulses of inquiry through their tenuous mental link. "Your world is different," she murmured one evening, her thoughts warm. Her fingers lingered on his wrist, the contact both clinical and intimate. "Very different," Ren replied, voice soft. He met her gaze, saw the concern flickering in her eyes. "But some things feel the same. Worry. Hope." He hesitated, then added, "Something's wrong here, isn't it?" Elenai's expression shifted, the bioluminescent patterns on her garment dimming in sync with her unease. She did not answer with words, but her emotions bled into his, a shared pulse of anxiety and trust. Their interactions grew warmer, the boundaries between them dissolving in that silent current of shared worry and growing trust. And as Ren studied the city's flickering energies, Elenai's presence beside him became both comfort and promise, of sanctuary, of understanding, and perhaps something more. Elenai's thoughts brushed his. "You sense the disturbance?" Ren nodded, pressing his palms together as if trying to steady the flickering energy within him. "Something's draining your city's life," he replied, the words awkward on his tongue. He glanced at the undulating glow beneath their feet, then met Elenai's luminous eyes. "Like a parasite, feeding on your energy. It's subtle, but it's there, eating away at the city's heart." He knelt and began sketching on the surface of a glowing panel, tracing lines and spirals to illustrate the flow of energy as he saw it. Elenai watched, her gill membranes fluttering in concentration, her fingertips grazing the images. She tried to follow his gestures, her own hands mirroring the shapes in the air, translating his crude diagrams into patterns familiar to her Lissaran senses. Elenai projected softly, a ripple of awe coloring her mental voice. He managed a wry smile. "It's the only way I know to understand things," he said aloud, though he sensed she caught his meaning more through the shifting current between their minds. "Where I'm from, we look for patterns, signals in the noise." The Lysaran Council gathered in a chamber of interwoven crystal and living vines, their faces grave, silver skin flickering with anxious light. Ren stood before them, Elenai at his side. He could feel the pressure of their collective thoughts, suspicion laced with fear. One counselor, taller than the rest, spoke, her mental tone sharp. The accusation, though not spoken aloud, pressed on Ren's chest like a physical weight. Elenai stood straighter, her fins flaring defensively. Ren stepped forward, holding up his hands. "I can show you," he said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his core. "If you'll let me." He gestured again, calling up holographic displays of Myron's energy flows, overlaying them with his crude sketches. This pattern here, it's wrong. Something is feeding where it shouldn't. If we don't stop it, your city will... The council shifted, uncertain. Their thoughts buzzed at the edges of his mind, but Elena's presence steadied him, a soft, persistent warmth. The lead counselor finally allowed, her reluctance clear. If he brings harm. Elena bowed her head. They left the council chamber together, walking in silence along a bridge of woven light. The city's pulsing glow had grown dimmer, a subtle wrongness now impossible to ignore. Ren's gaze drifted to Elena's face, searching for doubt, but found only determination. You didn't have to stand up for me, he said quietly. Elena paused, studying him. Her hand brushed his, a fleeting contact that sent a spark through him. In the days that followed, they became inseparable. Elena brought him data, streams of encoded patterns that she translated into colors and sensations, while Ren rendered them into charts and equations. They mapped the anomaly together, tracing its tendrils through the city's living systems. In Myron's hidden alcoves, surrounded by panels of shifting light, they pored over the evidence, their heads bent close, their hands sometimes brushing as they worked. One night, as they sat beside a crystalline console, Elena watched him work, curiosity brightening her eyes. Do all humans see the world in numbers? She asked, her mental voice tinged with humor. Ren grinned, glancing up from his calculations. Only the stubborn ones. He caught her gaze, his expression softening. Your people see the world in feelings. I wish I could do that. Just know what's true, here. He touched his chest, feeling the beat of his heart. She reached across the console, her fingers wrapping around his wrist. The touch was deliberate this time, warm and grounding. Her mental voice was clear, strong, a beacon against the storm of alien emotion that threatened to overwhelm him. Ren closed his eyes, letting her nearness fill his senses. The noise faded, replaced by a soothing current, a gentle tide of trust and empathy that steadied his thoughts. In that moment, their minds touched, not as strangers, but as partners. Thank you, he whispered, barely audible. Their teamwork grew seamless. Where Ren's logic faltered, Elena's intuition bridged the gap, sensing connections invisible to human eyes. He watched her fingers dance over the glowing displays, every movement purposeful and graceful. Sometimes their hands met, lingering a heartbeat longer than necessary, their shared discoveries sparking laughter or quiet awe. One afternoon, as dusk painted the city in cool blues, Ren called Elena to his side. I think I have a plan, he announced, voice trembling with excitement and fear. He showed her a series of calculations, diagrams of resonant waves and interference patterns. If we can generate a counter-resonance, he began, but Elena was already following his thoughts, her mind racing ahead. Her eyes widened, admiration and anxiety mingling in her thoughts. He pointed to the heart of their map, a nexus of swirling light at Mirren's center. The core. It's the only place with enough power to reach every part of the city at once. Elena's silvery skin shimmered, her gills fluttering with unease. Ren hesitated, the weight of her warning settling heavily on him. I know it's a risk, but if we do nothing, Myron will fall. He turned to face her, searching her eyes. I won't do this without you. She stood silently for a moment, torn between the traditions that bound her and the evidence Ren had uncovered. He felt her uncertainty, a tremor in the mental current that bound the city. But then her hand found his, fingers intertwining with his, the contact both a promise and a plea. She projected, her mental voice resolute. As they prepared, Elena brought him to the threshold of the core, a place few outsiders had ever seen. The air vibrated with energy, colors dancing along the walls in living patterns. Ren paused, taking in the gravity of what lay ahead. Elenai pressed her palm to his chest, above his heart. Ren covered her hand with his own, drawing strength from her courage. "I trust you, Elenai." She nodded, her bioluminescent patterns swirling in steady, calming waves. They stood together at the edge of the unknown, intellect and intuition fused, the spark of their partnership burning brighter than the city's dimming light. Only those with pure intentions could approach the core, and Ren, as an outsider, was both a risk and their best hope. Sensing their progress, the parasite struck back. All at once, the city's crystalline towers flickered, the once radiant streets plunging into a trembling twilight. Mirren's lights dimmed, veins of darkness crawling along the luminous walkways. Ren staggered as a wave of terror swept through the telepathic field, the city's collective consciousness shuddering with panic. The air itself felt charged with menace, every breath tight with the taste of fear. Beside him, Elenai faltered, one hand clutching the wall as pain flickered across her features. Her bioluminescent markings sputtered and dimmed, her eyes squeezed shut as she fought to steady herself. Ren reached out, steadying her by the shoulders. "Elenai?" His voice was rough, urgent. "Are you—" Her mind touched his, trembling but resolute. "There is an ancient tale," she projected, the echo of memory deepening her mental voice, of a stranger who would restore balance to Lysara, and a guardian who would join with him. She drew in a shaky breath, then straightened. Her eyes, dark and luminous, locked on his, burning with sudden resolve. "That guardian is me," she declared, her thoughts ringing with conviction. "You are the key." Ren stared at her, heart hammering. The weight of fate pressed down, thick and inescapable. He felt the swirl of fear and longing in the current between them. Was this why he had survived? Why the city itself had let him in? His mind reeled with questions, but Elenai's presence was a steady anchor in the storm. She stepped closer, so close he could see the shimmer of light along her silvery skin, the quickening pulse at her throat. Gently, she laid her hand against his cheek, her fingers cool and delicate, grounding him in the moment. The touch was intimate, more than comfort, it was a promise. She projected, her thoughts unfolding inside his mind, warm and certain. A wave of longing swept from her to him, yearning, hope, absolute conviction that this was right. Ren's breath caught. He had never been so vulnerable, so exposed. In Elenai's eyes, he saw not only the guardian Lysara needed, but the woman who had chosen him, heart and soul. She leaned in, her lips brushing his. The kiss was soft and electric, a current of energy flowing between them, sharp and bright. Ren gasped, feeling the jolt course through his entire being. For a moment, the world narrowed to the place where their bodies touched, to the unity in their minds, a sense of wholeness he had never imagined. Elenai drew back only slightly, her forehead resting against his. "Come," she whispered, the word both a plea and an invitation. "Our paths are joined." He squeezed her hand, nodding, his resolve crystallizing. Whatever the risk, whatever the cost, he would not turn away. Their journey toward Mirren's core began in shadow. The halls of living crystal shifted around them, passageways flickering as the parasite lashed out in desperation. The darkness pooled ahead, forming twisting barriers that writhed and pulsed, hungry for their fear. Elenai moved ahead, her form a beacon of shimmering light. With every step, her presence shielded Ren, her determination blazing in the telepathic field. Ren kept close, his hand never leaving hers. "Stay with me," he breathed, half to himself, half to her. The pressure of her mind in his, steady, fierce, unyielding, was his only comfort amid the chaos. A sudden shockwave rippled through the corridor. Crystal shards fell from the ceiling, scattering at their feet. The parasite's mental scream tore through the air, raw and savage. "Go back!" it howled, its voice 1,000 discordant thoughts shrieking at once. "You do not belong?" Elenai's grip tightened, her gill membranes flaring. She projected, her voice like steel. She pressed forward, her body shielding Ren as she forced a path through the twisting gloom. Light blossomed where she touched the walls, the parasite's darkness recoiling from her touch. Ren struggled to steady his breath. "Can you hold it off?" he asked, voice shaking. She spared him a glance, a flicker of warmth in her gaze. "Not alone," she admitted. "But with you, yes." Together they pressed deeper, navigating the labyrinthine corridors. At times the way seemed to close behind them, the city itself reshaping to confound their path. Ren's mind reeled from the pressure of the parasite's hatred. Images and feelings hurled at him in a relentless assault. But Elenai's mind was there, a wall against the tide, her thoughts wrapping his like a shield. They stumbled into a chamber pulsing with sickly light. Tendrils of darkness wove through the heart of the city, feeding on the core's brilliance. Ren gasped as pain lanced through his skull, the parasite's touch cold and invasive. Elenai staggered, but her hand found his. She projected fiercely. He closed his eyes, focusing on her presence, the steady rhythm of her breath, the certainty in her mind. Their bodies pressed together in the chaos, and a current of warmth blazed through the bond they shared. He sent his thoughts toward hers, clumsy but determined. She smiled, a flash of silver in the darkness, her bioluminescent patterns flaring with new strength. The parasite screamed, a wave of psychic force slamming into them. Elenai gasped, her knees buckling. Ren caught her, holding her upright. "We're almost there," he urged. "Just a little further." The corridor ahead warped and flickered, the path to the core visible for a heartbeat before darkness threatened to swallow it whole. Elenai raised her hand, casting a shield of shimmering light. The parasite's tendrils recoiled, writhing in agony. Ren and Elenai moved as one, her grace guiding his steps, his determination lending her strength. Every brush of their bodies sent sparks along his nerves, every shared glance deepening the flow of thought between them. The telepathic current became a river of trust and hope, carrying them forward even as the city shuddered around them. They reached a narrow bridge suspended over a churning sea of energy. The core's light flickered beneath them, fighting to hold back the encroaching darkness. Elenai faltered, swaying with exhaustion, but Ren slipped his arm around her waist, steadying her. "Lean on me," he said. "I won't let go." She nodded, her cheek resting against his shoulder. She sent, pride and affection mingling in her thoughts. The bridge buckled beneath a new assault. The parasite's voice shrieked, "You will fail. You cannot merge. You are not one." Elenai raised her head, her eyes blazing. "We are one," she declared, aloud and in the mind field. She pressed her palm to Ren's chest, her fingers trembling. He laid his hand over hers, anchoring them both. Their mental link flared, thoughts and feelings blending until the boundaries between them blurred. Trust blossomed in adversity, their partnership now unbreakable. The path ahead was perilous, but united, they pressed on. Two souls joined against the darkness, hearts and minds beating as one. At the heart of the city, a swirling maelstrom of corrupted energy threatened to consume everything. The core chamber pulsed with a sickly, chaotic light, shadows lashing out like living things. Ren stood at the edge of the platform, Elenai's hand clasped tightly in his, her presence a steadying force against the storm. The air was thick with pressure, the city's anguish echoing in every pulse of the floor beneath them. Ren's device, a patchwork of Lissaran crystal and human ingenuity, hung from a strap across his chest, humming with pent-up power. His thumb brushed the activation stud, and for a heartbeat, doubt warred with resolve in his mind. Elena's fingers tightened around his, her thoughts flowing into him, calm and sure. She projected, the words ringing with faith. Ren drew a shaky breath and nodded. Here goes nothing. He pressed the stud. The device vibrated, crystalline circuits spinning into life. A low tone built into a piercing resonance, flooding the chamber with waves of cleansing energy. The light shifted, first trembling, then rising into a crescendo of brilliance. Ren felt the current surge into him, raw power threading through every nerve. Pain and exhilaration mingled, each heartbeat a crash of lightning through his veins. The parasite recoiled, its discordant presence writhing in the telepathic field. With a furious screech, it struck back, tendrils of darkness stabbing into Ren's mind. He staggered, teeth gritted, vision clouding as alien memories and nightmares slashed at his thoughts. "Ren!" Elenai cried, both aloud and in his mind. She moved closer, her other hand rising to cradle his head, anchoring him to the present. He fought to focus on her warmth, her scent, the anchor of her heartbeat. But the parasite was everywhere, its voice 1,000 whispers. Useless. Outsider. You will fail. It pressed into his memories, dredging up every fear, every regret. Elena's mental presence blazed, cutting through the fog. She poured her own energy into him, a surge of luminous strength that filled the cracks in his will. Ren gasped, feeling her life force fuse with his, her purpose and hope intertwining with his own. Their intentions merged, wills blending into a single unbreakable current. He clung to her hand, his free arms snaking around her waist. "Don't let go," he whispered. "Never," she replied, her voice fierce with love and determination. The device's resonance grew, the sound shattering into colors, the air thickening with light and song. The parasite screamed, writhing in agony, twisting around their joined minds. Its chaos battered Ren, hurling images of despair and ruin, but Elena's energy held him steady, her thoughts a shield of harmony. She urged, sending him flashes of Mirren's beauty, the luminous forests, the laughter of children, the gentle tide of shared dreams. Ren gritted his teeth, pushing back with everything he had. "You're not welcome here," he growled, addressing the parasite as much as the darkness in himself. "We choose hope. We choose each other." The maelstrom buckled, dark tendrils shuddering and breaking apart. Elena's presence surged, filling the chamber with radiance. Together, they pressed forward, their wills united, their bond forging a shield that the parasite could not breach. The struggle was fierce, Ren's determination against the parasite's chaos, Elena's energy weaving through him, anchoring his soul. The pain was immense, but so was the exhilaration. He had never felt more alive, more himself, than in this crucible of purpose and connection. Gradually, harmony returned. The parasite's influence waned, its discordant shrieks fading into silence. Ren felt it dissolving, its last threads snapping away from the city's heart. The sickly light receded, replaced by the gentle glow of restored energy. Around them, Mirren's symphony rebuilt itself, every note stronger and more beautiful than before. Ren's knees buckled, exhaustion flooding through him. The device slipped from his hand, clattering to the floor. Elenai caught him, her arms strong and sure. He collapsed into her embrace, his head resting against her shoulder. Her heartbeat was steady, a calm drum in the aftermath of chaos. Outside the chamber, the city's light flared, towers ringing with new vitality. Ren felt the gratitude of Mirren's people, a ripple of relief and joy spreading through the telepathic field. "You did it," Elenai murmured, her fingers stroking his hair. You saved us. He managed a weak laugh. We did it. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Her thoughts wrapped around his, gentle and soothing, her love a balm against the raw places left by the battle. He closed his eyes, surrendering to the warmth of her embrace and the gentle current of her presence. Recovery was slow, each breath a little easier as Elena's touch and thoughts soothed the ache in his mind and body. She was always near, her hand in his, her voice a soft murmur in the back of his mind, her love a steady light. Days passed in a blur. Ren drifted in and out of sleep, waking to Elena's face above him, the city's hum quieter but whole. Sometimes he tried to speak, but she would hush him, a smile curving her lips. You're safe, she whispered. The city is safe. Rest. He obeyed, letting himself be carried on the tide of her care. With each day, the darkness faded from his dreams. When he finally woke fully, the energy of the city sang with new vitality, bright and clear. The chamber was filled with gentle light, and the distant towers gleamed with health. Eleni sat by his side, her hand intertwined with his. Her eyes shone, not just with relief, but with something deeper. She leaned close, pressing her forehead to his. I knew you would return to me, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. You are part of this city now, part of me. Ren smiled, reaching up to trace her cheek. I never want to leave, he whispered. She laughed softly, joy and love radiating through their bond. She promised. Outside, Myron's renewed song echoed, a testament to the unity they had forged, and the love that now bound them, unbreakable. The council, led by Elena's father, honored Ren's bravery. The vast plaza at the city's center shimmered beneath the woven lights of Miren, Lycerans gathered in a ring of radiant anticipation. Elena's father stood at the dais, his presence commanding yet solemn, his silvered eyes fixed on Ren with a complicated blend of pride and caution. Elena, draped in a garment that glowed with the pulse of the city, stepped forward. Her voice, carried on both the air and the telepathic current, rang clear. As guardian, I claim the one who restored our harmony. Our union shall preserve the balance for all time. The ancient rites invocation rippled through the crowd, a tide of memory and tradition. Ren felt the weight of 1,000 eyes, the living current of history pressing in from all sides. The significance of Elena's words was unmistakable. The council had not only accepted him, but now asked him to share in something sacred. The notion of destiny, of being chosen, not just by Eleni but by Lysara itself, tightened around his chest. His thoughts raced, full of memories of Earth, of exile, of always being an outsider. He hesitated, the moment stretching. Elena's father watched him with the grave scrutiny of one who had seen the city threatened and saved. The other counselors murmured, their emotions swirling through the telepathic field. Curiosity, hope, a flicker of doubt. Was he worthy of this? Was he truly one of them now? Eleni sensed his fear. She moved to his side, her hand finding his, her fingers gentle on his skin. Her thoughts slipped into his mind, a soothing caress, warm and steady. This is not an obligation, she projected, her mental voice gentle, wrapping around his uncertainty like silk. Our essences are intertwined now, by choice as much as fate. Her gaze met his, luminous and steady, yet open, vulnerable in the way only truth could be. You do not have to do this for them. The union is sacred, but it is also personal. It is for you and me, for the future we choose together. Ren looked down at their joined hands, her silver-touched skin against his own, feeling the beat of her heart in the current between them. I want this, he whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. I want you. She smiled, her thoughts a gentle tide. Then let us begin. Preparations for the union began at once, the city's energy shifting in anticipation. Elenai guided Ren through each ritual, intimate, meaningful acts that wove their lives together, body and spirit. In a chamber filled with flowing light, she traced ancient symbols on his skin with luminous pigment, each mark a story, each touch a promise. This is the glyph of joining, she explained, her voice soft as she drew a spiral over his heart. It means trust and hope. My people believe that when these symbols are shared, their meanings linger in the soul. Ren reached up, covering her hand with his. Teach me the stories, he murmured. I want to know everything. Elenai's lips curved, her eyes bright with joy and longing. She guided his hands, helping him draw patterns on her skin in return. They sat close, knees touching, laughter and shy glances blending with the steady pulse of the city outside. At dusk, they stood together before the council once more. Elenai spoke for both of them. This is for Lysara and for us. Her hand rested over Ren's heart, the connection between them humming with anticipation. Their minds brushed and merged, not in the urgency of battle, but in the slow, deliberate mingling of trust and desire. The rituals grew more personal, the sacred merging with the sensual. In moments alone, Elenai guided Ren through meditations that fused their thoughts, sharing her memories, her first swim in the glowing pools, the music of the city's dawn, the ache of loneliness before he arrived. He answered with his own, the taste of rain on earth, the ache of leaving home, the wonder of discovering her. One night, in a secluded chamber beneath the glowing city, Elenai invited Ren to sit before her on a bed of crystalline moss. The room was alive with gentle colors, the walls pulsing in time with their heartbeats. She wore only a simple wrap, her silvery skin bare where the light caressed it. She took his hands in hers, guiding them to her waist. Her voice was a murmur, each word heavy with intention. Let the current carry you. Ren's breath caught as her fingers traced gentle patterns along his shoulders and chest, her touch both reverent and hungry. The bond between them deepened, thoughts and feelings flowing freely, past and future dissolving into the present. He moved his hands slowly, savoring the feel of her, the way her body arched toward him, inviting and trusting. Their lips met, tentative at first, then with growing certainty, the kiss deepening as their minds and bodies entwined. Elenai's presence filled him, her essence a radiant light that banished the last of his doubts. Their connection surged, a current of pleasure and devotion that eclipsed all memory of pain. She whispered against his mouth, "You are mine, as I am yours." This joining is forever. Ren answered with a touch, a wordless promise, his hands exploring her back, her shoulders, every delicate ridge of her spine. The energy in the chamber built, a shimmering pulse that matched their rising desire. They moved together, slow and deliberate, a dance as old as the city itself. Each touch a sacred vow, each gasp a prayer. Elenai guided him deeper, her voice and thoughts leading him through the ritual's final steps. She pressed her forehead to his, eyes closed, their breaths mingling. Light blossomed around them, a halo of color and warmth. "Let your wounds wash away," she whispered, her words both command and benediction. "Begin anew, with me." Ren let go. He surrendered to the current, the rush of sensation, the unity of spirit and flesh. Old wounds dissolved, replaced by the fierce, undeniable truth of their bond. He felt whole, healed, remade. When it was over, they lay together in the gentle glow, arms and minds entwined. Elenai stroked his cheek, her eyes filled with tears and laughter. "We are joined, Ren. Whatever comes, we face it together." He drew her close, kissing her softly, for all time. Outside, the city glowed in celebration, a living testament to their union and the hope it promised for Lysara's future. Inside, in the quiet sacredness of their chamber, Ren and Elenai rested, their love and unity a beacon for all who would come after. Their union reached its zenith in the sanctum. Within the shimmering chamber, beneath the cathedral arches of living crystal, Ren and Elenai moved in perfect synchrony. Every touch, every breath was a dialogue, bodies moving in harmony, energies fusing in a rising crescendo of sensation and emotion. The sanctum's light shifted with them, glowing brighter as their connection deepened, the walls resonating with the thrum of their joined hearts. Memories, dreams, and hopes flowed between them. Ren's childhood on distant Earth, the bittersweet ache of exile, the thrill of discovery. Elenai's first swim in the glowing pools of Lysara, her longing for purpose, her solitary vigils as guardian. Thoughts and feelings wove together, past and future dissolving in the river of pure connection that swept them along. As their union reached its peak, a wave of harmony burst from the core of their joining. The energy was both physical and spiritual, a pulse that rippled outward through Myron's heart. Ren felt it as an explosion of color and song, the sensation so intense it bordered on ecstasy. Elenai's presence blazed in his mind, radiant and unshakable. Together, they cried out, a shared sound of release and arrival, sending a surge of unity through the city's core. The crystalline architecture seemed to shiver with delight, beams of light cascading through every street and spire. The city's song, always present in the telepathic undercurrent, grew richer and deeper as though empowered by their bond. Afterward, they lay together in the sanctum's heart, breathless and quiet. The afterglow of completion wrapped them in peace. The world hushed except for the gentle echo of the city's song and the steady rhythm of their joined heartbeats. Elenai turned to Ren, her eyes glowing with an eternal promise, silver and moon bright in the soft light. Her fingers traced his jaw, gentle and reverent. "You are part of me now," she whispered, both aloud and within the bond, her thoughts a caress. "Our love shapes this city. Our destiny is woven together." Ren closed his eyes, feeling the telepathic hum of Lysara now a gentle current within him, a river of life connecting him to every being and every heartbeat in Miren. He was no longer a stranger. He belonged. "Elenai," he murmured, voice rough with emotion, "I never imagined I could find this. Find you, so far from where I began." She pressed her forehead to his, a smile trembling on her lips. "Nor I, but the current brought us together, and now it carries us forward. I am yours, as you are mine. Always." They rose from the sanctum, hand in hand, and stepped into a new dawn. The city outside was transformed, its light brighter, its colors more vivid. Every Lysaran they passed radiant with hope. People paused to watch them, their faces alight with gratitude and wonder. Ren felt the city's acceptance flowing into him, a chorus of welcome in 1,000 silent voices. Elenai moved with new confidence, her aura stronger and more luminous than ever. She greeted her father and the council, her presence calming and authoritative, the mark of a leader renewed by love and sacrifice. Ren, standing at her side, became a bridge between worlds. The Lysarans turned to him with curiosity and respect, eager to learn what he had to offer. In open gatherings beneath the city's glowing arches, Ren shared his knowledge, explaining human engineering, mathematics, and the ways of problem-solving that had helped save Miren. He listened too, absorbing Lysaran wisdom, their history of harmony, their rituals of unity, the spiritual science that bound their minds together. Elenai became his guide and teacher, opening his heart to the deeper mysteries of her people. She led him in meditations that connected him to the living current of Lysara, taught him to read the energy flows of the city, and showed him the meaning of each sacred symbol. Ren learned the language of emotion, the art of silent communication, and the poetry of the Lysaran mind. Their days were filled with collaboration, building new systems to protect Miren, designing bridges that wove together human and Lysaran technology, guiding the city into an age of renewal. Sometimes, as they worked side by side, their hands would brush and they would share a quick, private smile, the bond between them always present, always humming with warmth. Nights were quieter, more intimate. In the chambers they now shared, beneath the ever-shifting glow of Lysara's sky, they lay together, discovering new depths in each other and themselves. Elenai would recount stories of her ancestors, tracing ancient runes on Ren's chest. He would share memories of earth, of rain and sun, and the taste of fruit. And she would listen, eyes wide, her heart open. Some nights, they would slip from their rooms to walk beneath the glowing forests outside Mirin. There, surrounded by the gentle illumination of living plants, they would lie entwined on soft moss, the stars above reflecting in Elenai's silvered eyes. Their conversations drifted between laughter and quiet reflection, the kind of closeness that made words unnecessary. "You have given me a new world," Ren would whisper, his lips brushing her temple. "And you have restored mine," she would reply, her hand resting over his heart, their thoughts echoing in the silent, sacred current. They faced challenges together, old traditions slow to change, fears among those still wary of outsiders. But Elenai's leadership and Ren's compassion won hearts, each day drawing the city closer to the harmony they had forged. Together, they mentored a new generation of Lysarans and travelers, teaching the beauty of unity born from difference. Ren, once an exile, no longer dreamed of the home he had lost. His roots had sunk deep into Lysara's soil, nourished by love and the purpose he found in Elenai's arms. He was no longer simply the human who had fallen from the sky, but a vital thread in the tapestry of a world transformed. As the seasons turned, their love became legend, a tale whispered in the city's song, a beacon for all who sought connection across boundaries. The sanctum where they had joined remained a place of pilgrimage, its light forever changed by what they had shared. Their love, born in crisis, forged in trust, and sealed in sacred union, became the cornerstone of a new era for Miren. Ren, once an exile, found his true home with Elenai, and at the heart of the world he helped save. Together, they embodied the harmony of two worlds, forever joined.